Good afternoon, Jackie Corasani. Welcome. Let's go.
And today our first presenter will be Sylvain Riendo, and he is the president and CEO of the North American branch of Elpro. He's a board member of the Berlinger USA. He's the founder and partner of Marietta Sensors and the owner and manager of the director of EF Scientific.
So most of you know my bio. I'm not going to go over that. Again, I'm president and CEO of Elpro Services. So just to give you a little background about the company itself. So it's a technology company. We provide temperature monitoring for clinical trials. So typically our customers are large pharmaceutical companies. So we ship product, and therefore they need to monitor the temperature during the clinical trial phase, which is typically phase 2 and phase 3. So we work close with the FDA guidelines and such. On the Berlinger side is a company that I established here in Marietta, Ohio, about 4 years ago. It's a temperature indicator in 2010. And this is a Swiss company that they were looking to have a presence in the United States. And then so I got them established here in Marietta. And what they do is they do work for, again, temperature monitoring. There's our temperature indicators, and it's for the WHO, which is the World Health Organization. And so they monitor like vaccines for the H1N1, and anything that's a vaccine cannot freeze. So their product is widely used also for pharmaceutical, but also for WHO application. The Marietta sensor, it was an idea from 3 people. Then we said, I think there's a market, and we're going to move forward with it. And it's been interesting, challenging. And one of the biggest challenges, you really have to dedicate time into a business. But when you run out of time, then it makes it more difficult because it's hard to get more traction. So basically, just to give you a little background about Marietta Sensor. So Marietta Sensor is a technology business. What we do is, the original concept was, okay, for colleges and universities, there needs to be a way for a student to communicate, hey, I need help, and this is where I'm at. And I know most of you will say, well, I have a cell phone. Then the three partners went, okay, so the reason for our technology was because, when you get assaulted or something like that, you need to be able to deploy something quickly. So having a cell phone, you can't unlock your cell phone and start making a call. Then there's always the challenges of like, okay, I've made the call, so where, I have to give the first responder where I'm at, the situation that I have or I'm encountering at the moment. And then so we thought, okay, this is going to be a home run. And we did. I mean, we started running with this, but it created we had a lot of challenges ahead of us for the simple fact that, it's electronic. You have to put it together. You have to create molds. And then so all of a sudden it's like, now we get into manufacturing. And so there's a whole learning curve about that too. Not only did we think of the colleges and university for this type of solution, but we thought also because I work closely with pharmaceutical company, like, the large ones, and then so they have big establishments. So they have people coming on their site to work, and what if they need help and they can't get the right help at the right time? So having this solution, which is called a mesh network of drones, what we call them. So then when you click on your button, then they know exactly where you are. A lot of you would say, well, wait a second, I have that on my cell phone where I have GPS. Unfortunately, with GPS it doesn't give you the height where you are within the building. It's just an X on Google Map. So basically how the system works is, just to give you a little background of the operation, so this is the device. And then so if somebody says, somebody grabs me or I'm not feeling well or something, I would simply just deploy it, and then it starts beeping away. And my information, which is my personal information, my name, my age, and would be transmitted to what we call the mesh network. And as I turn this off, and then so then to the police department or the the local police department with the campus police, then would be notified so and so is there and needs help. So again, we really thought we had a home run because there's approximately over like 4,000 colleges and universities. So we said this will be great. Then came the challenges. So again, just to give you a little background about this, so it's not GPS, it's not triangulation, it's basically a mesh network. So it's a mesh network that it's basically when you press, it just starts relaying information back and forth throughout a facility. Again, the challenges was, okay, so now we've got the right product, this should be an easy fit. And we were approached by several large universities, and it took us roughly about 2.5 years to really fine-tune, develop the product. And then the budget cuts come into play. And then we all know what happens with budget cuts. It's like, you know, it's unfortunate, but, you know, you have to do what you can with the money that you have. So, you know, we had our business plan. We had a market study where it was $1 billion industry. When they did, this was done by OU, Ohio University. They did the market study. Our targeted market was colleges, university, pharma, and corporate. So we knew the business opportunity existed, the market potential, and business focus on safety. Then, as I mentioned, 2012 budget cuts, college, university, government. And it was interesting because we were approached by government, and then it was the same thing. It's like, yeah, we love the product, we love the idea. However, we just can't get the funding anymore. We did some beta testing, so we partnered with some large pharmaceutical companies that, you know, I work closely with. They tested the product. They were like, this is great. Same thing with big pharma company, budget cuts. So that seems like that was the biggest hurdle that we had. And then, you know, the problem with technology, then you need resources, management, software development, you know, obviously sales. And I put in there sales and marketing, and I put NATO. I call this NATO, no action, talk only. We've had a lot of people that, you know, it's like we've hired people that they were like, oh yes, I'm closely related to this type of academia, university, and we can get you in there. But unfortunately, it was all talk. But that's, you know, that's just part of being in business. And some of the challenges that we have also is software development requirement because, you know, unfortunately, like with any operating system, you need to stay up with the technology, which is software operating system, Windows 8, Windows 10. And then my biggest challenge is limited time availability. I'm very passionate about what I do. However, there's only so many hours in one day. So being involved in various companies, it's like it limits my time. However, I end up with the right contacts. It's just that, okay, and then somebody else needs to follow up on it. So we need to rethink our strategy. So obviously now to overcome all these budget cuts that we come across. So it's like, okay, so how can we take this product to market? And, you know, originally what we did is we went to colleges and universities, large ones, and we went to the, you know, I guess the student faculty, but it's a hard sell because, you know, obviously, again, budget cuts, nobody wants to invest, especially from the college standpoint. So then, you know, then we started to think, okay, so maybe we're pursuing the wrong folks. Maybe we should target the parents. You know, my daughter comes to Marietta College, and, you know, when you pay the fee to come to college, and you say at the end, what's another $200 a year? And that may be the best way to offer the solution is to bring it to the forefront to parents. You know, we did several of the, what we call like trade shows, and it was amazing because every time someone would stop by from time to time, they'd say, I have a daughter that goes to this college. If I buy one of these, will this work for me? It's like, no, you need to put in the infrastructure. So that's what the challenges was really is built around. It's not just one person. It becomes like, it's like a honeycomb. Everybody has to get involved in it, especially on the facility. You know, target big corporate, e.g. Amazon, UPS, you know, interesting enough, we were approached by also Amazon, I mean. And then so it was kind of interesting because then, you know, they're big warehouse, they have people working in different areas, and they say, well, security is an issue. So would it have worked? Yes. Problem is running out of time. There's not enough time in the day in order to pursue those opportunities. College case study, which we do have college case studies, but again, we need to pursue, take a different avenue, go after the parents for this technology, I think. Business focus on safety or change. So should we change? Maybe we shouldn't focus just on safety, focus on think of something else to come up with as far as the solution that we could bring to the market. Or is the market too saturated? Because everybody works with cell phone. They say, you know what, my cell phone, it works great. I know the police department here on campus they do have like lockdown capability where they send an email, but that email just, it's a blast email that sends to every student. And then so how does a student send, hey, I need help and I'm right here. How do I get that information across? And again, maybe we need to find a different niche market for our product. Now the question to everyone, should we consider an internship to review and analyze, evaluate our business? I think there's a great opportunity for any candidate that wants to get involved. Reconsider our target and our targeted market. Again, are we too late with our product, our solution? I don't think so. But again, it needs time and people dedicated to figure out, are we on track with our plan, our original plan? Again, it requires resource, which is management, software development, sales. Rethink our sales and marketing strategy. And as I mentioned earlier, then it's technology. So now we're dependent on operating systems, so we need to keep up with technology. So you need to have what we call like almost have a developer on site so they can keep doing all the updates regarding the software. And so I don't know if any of you had the opportunity to go to our website, but the Marietta Sensor website is, you can go there, find some information, and also kind of give you, there's different, we approached different market where we thought of like, oh, maybe we have an opportunity to find equipment, or we're trying a bunch of different things, but the development costs for those technologies are very expensive, so we decided to, let's just focus on one, and that one is the Marietta Sensor, which is what's called M-Avatara. It was the partners that decided to go with that name. I'm not sure why, but we decided to go with the name, and so we embrace it.
First of all, what happens in the event of an accidental notification? Is it possible to be reset by somebody, or what is the process, I guess, if it was accidentally tugged by something else and there's a false notification?
There's the pull, because then we thought on the lanyard you could actually pull it, but there's also a push button, so either you could press for 1 second, or you can press for 3 seconds. As far as the auto resetting, so this communicates with what we call these little battery-operated drones that are scattered, that creates the mesh network. So once the information is relayed to the appropriate authorities, it automatically resets the device. So all of a sudden it stops beeping at that point. Okay, so then it becomes, okay, so how do you respond to the incident? You get the pop-up on your computer. It tells you this person, and you can put additional information, allergic to bee sting whatsoever. So the first respondent can come in and say, well, okay, no, this person, something, either heart condition or whatsoever. Yes.
You said that's battery operated?
Yes.
How long do those batteries last? And how often do we need to be replacing them or checking them to make sure we don't have an interruption of service?
The software, it's got a self-healing process. So it checks for every drone, so it's a mesh network. So basically what we did with software is like, you're right, battery, it would last roughly about 3 years. Okay, standard batteries. And how the device is manufactured is the software tells it just to go to sleep. So we send a signal and we keep telling, just go to sleep. And then when somebody pushes the button, then it says, you wake up the entire hive. And then the hive simply just, here's the information, just transmitted back to the base station. So that's how it works. So, and there's standard batteries, 3 to 5 years. And the reason that you can only get 3 to 5 years is 2 things. We decided to go with, the company decided to go with standard batteries, like alkaline type batteries, because they're inexpensive. Once you start getting into lithium batteries, those become more expensive. But within the software, you can run diagnostics where you say, okay, send me your voltage, and it will send its voltage. And if one is missing, then you say, okay, that one there was a problem with it.
So for example, you said you can't sell one just to one person. So
Mhm.
how many are needed on a campus before you can actually have the system operational?
If you're looking at a, like for a building this size, let's say in this room here, between this room and probably some of the other rooms, you could put one of these, what we call drones. So if I press the button, then once I get notification, I roughly know where the incident may be. So to answer your question more clearly is, the more you have, the better you can find where that person is. The less you have, it may require you to just, have what we call a perimeter. So you would have like within the 60 feet perimeter for where that device would be. Like if I call this the MC College Theater. So then I would know that within this area, I'm looking for someone that needs help. We really thought that this was going to be a grand slam, specifically for parking garage, because then it's hard to find people, in parking garage. So, we had one potential customer that said, look, we want to put thousands. And it's like, no, then there's a problem with having too many. So, so to answer your question, what we do is what's called like a site survey. So it's like, how big do you want, how many doors do you need to open in order to find a person? I guess that's what it comes down to.
But what is the critical mass in terms of the number of people you need signed up? So if you go down the route of marketing to families, which, by the way, I think is a great idea. If you go down that route, how many do you need on a campus to then put you in a position to be able to install the drones? At what point, what is the critical mass? I'm just trying to understand the number.
Well, the critical mass would be probably close to 1 to 200. 1 to 200.
Okay.
And
what's-
again, it depends of how many buildings. Like, there was a large university here in the state that they were like, okay, what would it take to do the entire campus? And it was like, now we're talking, 8, 10, 12-story buildings. So do you want to know by floor, or are you okay with knowing every other floor? And then all of a sudden, some people go crazy with how many numbers they want, and it's like, then it's too expensive. But we did do, when we did do what we call our survey with the customer, the payback was going to be, if you can get more than 50% of the students on board in order to do your entire facility, the payback was going to be in 1 year. And then after that, it's a money-generating business because then every student pays in, and then the system is already paid for. So, but it's hard, it's the initial investment is very challenging to overcome. So, but we did do it on a small scale at a local business where they have certain off hours, so they said, look, it's a 20,000 square foot building, and they needed like 6 of these, and then they had like 4 of the, what we call the little notifiers, and that's all they needed. So after hours, somebody presses this, and then this sends an email or a text message. So it's even built in that you can say, obviously the police, then they would have it on their screen, but if there's no one working at that station, the computer station, then it should be on a pager, or not a pager, a cell phone as a text message. And then for those who want students to say, hey, the parent says, you know what, I want to be notified also. You can put as many people on there. But then, panic would set in, because if I would get something like that says my daughter is, I'd be the first one to start making phone calls, and it's like, oh no, I'm sorry, I pressed it by mistake.
What kind of sales force do you currently have, or have you had in the past? How many? How do you deploy these individuals? What does it look like?
We spent a lot of money on developing. I'm going to tell you that it's in the hundreds of thousands. And then after that, so we were in close contact with a person that was well connected to several of the Big Ten universities. And that turned out to be a NATO that ended up being a costly proposition. And then I was like, I'm still, it's like, no, failure is not an option. So then I said through my other business, which was EF Scientific, I said, I will have a sales rep, actually 2 sales reps that will go after this type of, but it was challenging. And I'll be honest with you, the problem is, I'm very passionate about what I do, and passion is not something that you can it's not something I could teach you. Either you have it or you don't. And then you find out that people aren't passionate. Some people are not passionate at all. So all they want is, it's like a salary, and then you're like, okay, so where are we going from here?
Compensation for sales is often an issue, and so if they only had a salary and not necessarily commissions or bonuses to incentivize and motivate them, that might be something that
No,
to
true.
look at.
Because in my the current business that I work in, that's what we do. So there is incentive for sales, and that's within all the business. But it's, again, it's always challenging to find the right people. I even put a person in Nashville, Tennessee, because I was like, out of Marietta, Ohio, there's not much. I mean, we have to travel everywhere. And so, but I will tell you this. I used to work for Formal Scientific, and so that's what brought me to Marietta, Ohio. Then when I started at Elpro in 2003, even Switzerland, because my partners are, the head office is in Switzerland, they said, why Marietta, Ohio? And I said, the answer is, why not Marietta, Ohio? Because out of Marietta, Ohio, if you put a circle, a 300-mile circle, you will capture roughly about 48% of the biggest pharmaceutical industries. 48 to 60%, pharmaceutical, I thought. So I'm a road warrior. I will drive to New York. I've driven to Boston to meet with a large pharma company. And once I got there, the next morning they're like, yeah, we need to cancel the meeting. But you know what? It happens. But most of our clients are Northeast, Southeast, and then on the West Coast with regards to Elpro. So
Is it like a certain radius that you can cover?
I'll say 100 to 150 feet in a circle. Okay. So the challenges with that is, okay, so now I need to make connections to the next one. So if you have 150 feet, I call a diameter, 150 feet, the challenge is like, okay, so it's like the one customer that we had a discussion with, and it's like, we could only install one or two into this one building, but then how many doors do you need to open in order to find the person?
Somebody was kidnapped and driven more than 150 feet away from a drone, then you can no longer find them?
If there's one in here and there's one outside, then...
From the last transponder, then,
So then the message keeps being relayed on.
okay. I was
So-
thinking more on the grade school level. To me, this seems very appropriate for like a private school where parents are very concerned about tracking their kids. They let them walk to school, whichever. Is there a way of placing these drones in public places like on telephone poles or light switches or whatever so that we can trace where our kids are going in the neighborhood because we're giving them a little bit of leeway?
There is, because we were approached by, again, the large university here in Ohio, and they're like, we have bus drivers that go down the route, and they pick up college students. Some of them sometimes gets, out of hand. So how do we can notify? So we're like, we'll just put them on the light post, and you push the button as a driver, it'll know exactly where you are. But again, the infrastructure becomes massive. So it becomes a big undertaking, and that's where people will say, well, maybe we'd be better off using like, GPS-type coordinates. Well, that's great, but again, once you get into a building, GPS doesn't do anything for you. So, and then you get into a situation which even cell phone, they don't work in basements because there's no cell capability. So then what happens? In this one colleges, they had a lot of tunnels to go from different building, and then even in tunnels, two-way radios, walkie-talkie, and those type of technologies don't even work in tunnels.
With the numbers potentially being too large, but maybe a long-term project, have you thought about military applications for this technology, possibly stateside and in war zones? For example, when I was in Iraq, we carried bulky transponders that weighed us down, and it would be really nice to have something smaller. But also, say you are involved in an IED or a mortar attack. If you're disoriented, it's a lot harder to work a transponder. If you had something that you just had to pull or press a button, that would be a very useful technology.
You really need something that has like what we call like GPRS or satellite communication. See, our device will only work once you put the drone somewhere. And you need, obviously, then you need something to get you to a connection either by internet in order to get an email and SMS text messaging. I guess you could always use your cell phone as a way to get to the internet, so that would work. I mean, it's a good idea what you mentioned. I don't know how big the application could be for something like that. And again, then we get into, when you start working with the DoD, Department of Defense, then you have to be an approved contractor, and all that. And at the beginning, we're like, okay, where are the low-hanging fruits rather than going that route? But yeah, you brought up a valid question. There's probably a market there, but we just need to figure out exactly how we would be able to transmit the information.
There are systems that are now set up in like nursing homes and that sort of thing.